My mom, Gail, is just sitting with my daughter, Alexandra, off camera right now. And I haven't even discussed this with Melissa yet, but we did talk about this in the past. Mm-hmm. On our list of options, things to do, one possibility was going to law school. And then under that heading, the other main thing to talk about is going to law school in Canada. But of course, also, we could go to law school in the United States and become lawyers long term. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot of details you could talk about there. But one of the most fundamental is just that the process of attending law school is boring. And even the first step of studying for and writing the LSAT, writing the law school entrance exam is boring. But it's a lot less boring if you're a couple going through it together. So, like, even if now, if we go back to Canada, we go back to Southern Ontario, and we start studying for the LSAT, I wouldn't want to do that alone. But I'm just saying, if you think, oh, great, I'm going to take 3 months and do algebra again and do all the really boring preparation for the LSAT. But if we do that together, that could be fun and encouraging, just as a couple to do that.
Yeah.
So Gail was really talking to me about when we met this morning, went to pick her up at her hotel, the alternate path when you look at me getting a PhD or even me going to baking college as opposed to going through law school and then where that puts us when we come out and at the series of steps going through. In the past, so we have talked about this in the past. In the past, one of the reasons why I didn't really consider that a positive option before I met Melissa, before we became a couple, was that just when I looked at the number of years, the amount of time you put in, then what you get out of it at the end, it did not compare favorably to me getting a PhD at all. Mm-hmm. If you become a lawyer in Canada, you make very little money, especially in the first few years after you finish the degree. Mm-hmm. So that's disappointing to a lot of people. Now, with that being said, I was talking about this with my mom also, my mom Gail. It's true, you and I are not really people who are super motivated by money. When you think about the things that motivate us, caring about politics, caring about social problems, caring about making our opinions matter in a society, whether we're living in Canada or anywhere else, or California, another very viable, option. And at this stage, we could write the LSAT, we could apply for a law school in California. We can apply, applying isn't the problem. Mm-hmm. We can apply for a bunch of law schools in both California and Canada, for example. I do think the law would be very rewarding for us in those ways, in those impalpable ways. And it's true, we really are in a different situation now as a couple than the situation I was in when I was looking at law school alone. Because a lot of that stuff is a drag. I mean, studying Chinese is a drag. Studying Chinese as a couple, way more enjoyable. You already have this experience. Studying for LSAT, for law school entrance stuff, is a drag. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing I talked through with Gail, the other thing law school may really entail, whether you do it in Canada or the United States, I'm just being realistic. We can apply for every law school. But it seems to me likely we would probably live in some crappy college town we don't particularly want to live in while we're in law school. So, you could be end up living in Lethbridge. You could be living in, Mobile, Alabama, or something. I'm just saying wherever. Okay, my mom just says no to Mobile, Alabama. Okay, Burlington, Vermont is my mother's suggestion. There's a good law school.
I don't know, but it's a pretty place.
There's a good law school in Burlington, Vermont. Apparently, I don't know. Anyway, but my point is, we might be living somewhere we don't particularly want to live for those couple of years. Mm-hmm. But again, doing that together is way more viable than doing it alone. And then even in terms of your first couple of years out of law school, so in Canada you go through a process called articling, which is not quite the same as an internship, but you go through a period where you don't have that much choice in what you're doing as a lawyer, and where you're underpaid and overworked. Again, doing that together, way more fun than doing it alone. And then ultimately, if we are two lawyers together, we have we'd be our own law firm. One lawyer is an employee, but two lawyers is ours. And then, we'd start to get into, those questions. The other thing I like about this, I have a bit of a problem because I've traveled so much. I mean, it's great traveling so much. We're here in the south of France now. We were just in Thailand. We were living in China. It's been fabulous. But I don't particularly have roots anywhere.
Right. And
being a lawyer gives you those roots. You know what I mean? So I like that about it also. So whether that was in Victoria, BC, or San Francisco, just to use an example, you have a brother in San Francisco. If we started living and working as lawyers in San Francisco, pretty soon you're a person whose opinion matters in San Francisco. You're kind of a citizen of San Francisco. You're participant. You know what I mean? you know, to whatever extent. No, people from San Francisco aren't going to be pointing the finger at you and saying, "You ain't from around here." Well, you know, you got a law firm, you got a job as a lawyer, you know, you're making your contribution to the community. You know what I mean? You can, if you want to go to City Hall and complain that there are too many drug addicts on the streets, because there are. I've been to San Francisco. There are too many drug. You know, you as a lawyer, you can have opinions about things. You can be involved in the body politic in that way, which is part of what we're looking for in these other things. So I've got to say, my mom pitching law school to me now. There we go. I'm gonna pick you up, Lovo. Here's my little daughter. Oh, looking ahead at the next 5 years. This is Alexandra. You're now 4.5. You're now 4.5. So 5 years from now, you're going to be about 10 years old. You're going to be 9.5. You're actually going to turn 5 just in a few months.
Yes. Right? At my birthday, I'm going to be 5. See?
That's right.
Right, Isel?
So we've got to plan ahead a little bit for that.
So Melissa,
and we're thinking we could be lawyers by the time she's 10 years old.